إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. To proceed, inshallah, we would like to remind ourselves of having ulu al-himma, or high aspirations. If us as the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't have something to aspire to or to work towards or to have higher goals in life, then we fear that you may be similar to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about the disbelievers. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يَتَمَتَّعُونَ وَيَأْكُلُونَ كَمَا تَأْكُلُ الْأَنْعَامُ وَالنَّارُ مَثْوًى لَهُمْ. That the disbelievers, they basically like eat and drink and just indulge in the worldly affairs, right? Like animals. And the hellfire will be their abode. So they have no real aspirations outside fulfilling their lower desires. In the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in terms of taklif, we have three major categories. The angels, they have taklif, but they don't have shahawat, right? They don't have lower desires like humans or jinn, but they have taklif, responsibilities. So they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously, non-stop, without disobeying Him. يَأْمُرُونَ مَا يَفْعَلُونَ, right? يَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ. They do exactly as they are commanded to do. And they are at the highest levels. And then you have the lowest level is the one that has shahawat, but no taklif. And this is the haywanat, the animals, right? They don't have taklif from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, responsibilities, but they have shahawat, desires. They need to eat, they need to drink, they have, intercourse, etc., etc. So only desires basically is what drives them. And then you have the middle category, which is the human and the jinn. The human and jinn have both. We have taklif from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, responsibilities, nahi and amr, right? Commands and prohibitions. And we have shahawat, desires. So the scholars say that more we fulfill the taklif of worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and staying away from His prohibitions and doing righteousness, then the more likely we are like the angels. And the more we fulfill our desires, shahawat, eating, drinking, lower desires, etc., then the more you are like the animals. The first category, when you're fulfilling your responsibilities, getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your soul is light, you feel close to Allah, you feel blessed in your time and your actions. The other way, you feel heavy, tired, lazy, not fulfilling your duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as a Muslim, we should have high aspirations, ulu al-himma. Himma in general, or having high aspirations, is not being pleased with mediocrity, right? Some of the scholars, they say, عدم الرضا بأي نوع من النقص في مطالب العالية. That not having to be pleased with or any deficiency in high aspirations. You want to be of those who try to achieve your goals and meet your goals, not of those who have no goals or no, basically plans in life. In seeking knowledge, in worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in giving da'wah, in having leadership, in building communities, you always want to be in the highest levels, right? You want to aspire to be the best, the closest to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in many ayat, He encourages us. Last time I was here, we talked about the importance of time. Now, inshallah, it's the importance of how you fulfill your time in having higher aspirations and higher goals. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ, right? Allah is saying, hurry, rush, race with one another to the forgiveness of your Lord. وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And the paradise that is greater in distance than the heavens and the earth, it is prepared for the muttaqeen, the righteous ones, the ones who have the high aspiration, right? So strive to be in the forefront, strive to be the best, to closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ. Race with one another in khayrat and goodness. Also, trying to be, you don't want to be the loser in the race, you want to be the winner. You want to be in the forefront. You want to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want to have high aspirations. Even in the du'as, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us. وَالَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Right? Oh Allah, our Lord, make our wives and our children, comfort for our eyes, and make us imams, leaders, right? High aspirations. Not to be something low or backwards or, not have any goals in life, but someone who is reaching for the highest aspirations. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us too in an authentic hadith, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ مَعَالِي الْأُمُورِ وَيَكْرَهُ سَفْسَافَهَا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves the high aspirations, right? Having high goals, having the higher mind, the higher affairs, lofty things. And He dislikes or hates the foolishness or those things that are lowly, right? Or waste of time. The Prophet ﷺ, he told us also, من خاف أدلج ومن أجلج بلغ المنزل ألا إن صلة الله غالية ألا إن صلة الله الجنة. That whoever fears will basically take the necessary precautions and reach their home, right? So in the past, in the old days, when the Arab used to travel, there was bandits, like highway robbers, and it's very dangerous. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever is fearful of that, they will take the necessary precautions, use their strength, and go quickly through the path, or pick the right time to go to the path, right? And do what is necessary to reach your goal, get back to your home. And then he's comparing this to the mu'min. The mu'min is going to strive his hardest to get to Jannah, which is our true home, right? And then he reminds us, verily, the commodity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something very expensive. It takes struggle, it takes time, it takes effort. Ala wa hiya al-Jannah. Verily, it is Jannah, paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ also used to teach us in the dua, when we ask for Jannah, don't ask just for Jannah, but ask for Firdaus al-A'la, right? All these ayat and hadith are teaching us to have high aspirations, high goals, striving, moving forward, right? Not being content with being in the background, not being content with being the last to enter, not being content with mediocrity, right? Just living our lives like there's no goals, eating, drinking, not caring about any of the affair of the Muslimin, not trying to improve the ummah of Islam, not trying to improve our families, not trying to improve ourselves. The Prophet ﷺ also, he told us to indicate the importance of seriousness and striving in the dunya. He said also in a hadith to name our children with the names of the prophets. And the most beloved names to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Abdullahi and Abdurrahman, to show the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he said the most truthful of names, وَأَصْدَقُهَا حَارِثُ وَهَمَّامُ. That the one who is basically like the one who plants to try to grow things, right? Or to have, reaping the rewards of something. Or Hammam, the one who has high aspirations. He's always concerned about something. He's always trying to improve himself. He's always trying to get better, trying to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Other than that, it's like a waste of time. So to indicate the high aspirations and how we should model ourselves, I just wanted to mention 3 stories, if time permits, inshallah. The first one about a young man, a young boy actually. And the second one about young adults going into adulthood. And the third one, an adult or elderly person, or he's reached, a higher age basically. But all of them, they had high aspirations and striving for their goals. I'm not going to talk about the Anbiya because every single Nabi had the most high aspirations, trying to save the ummah or their ummah from the hellfire and enter them into Jannah. Like the Prophet ﷺ, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِيٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ, right? We read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday. The Prophet ﷺ, he would be so upset or have the ham for his ummah because people weren't going into Islam. And he's concerned about them. I'm just going to mention some of the other people, of course, but if you go back and read the seerah of the prophets, you'll see that they all had the highest of aspirations. So the first one, Ibn Abbas, when he was a young child, he told his companion, his friend, he said, قَدْ فَاتَتْنَا كَثِيرًا عَنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. Right? We lost a lot of seeking knowledge with the Prophet ﷺ, because they were too young to go to battle and stuff like that. So many times the Prophet ﷺ would be in accepting delegations or traveling or going for jihad, etc. And at those times he wasn't around with the Prophet ﷺ. And before that, of course, he was just a baby or too young. So his friend said, so what do you think you're going to do? We have Abu Bakr, we have Umar, Uthman. There's so many scholars from the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ. You should learn some mihna, some type of skill that you can use to make money for yourselves, right? You think you're going to be a scholar like them? You're too young and you've already, khalas, go and learn something useful, basically. So Ibn Abbas left that person. And that's teaching us too, when you have high aspirations, you want people that want to encourage you and push you and motivate you. You don't want people that are going to bring you down. So Ibn Abbas saw in him, this other boy, his friend, his companion, negativity, right? He's trying to seek knowledge and become a better person. This person's saying, oh, what are you trying to do? You're not going to be able to make it like them. Go ahead and do something more useful. Ibn Abbas left that. He started to go to the companions of the Prophet ﷺ one by one and sit with them and learn from them, to the point that sometimes he would go to their houses at the qayla, the time that's the hottest of the day, when they would be taking a nap, just out of respect for them. He didn't want to disturb them. And he would wait outside the door. And sometimes, subhanAllah, sleep would overtake him because it's so hot, and he would fall into a little nap, and dust would be covering him from the desert dust. And the companion would walk out and find him in that state and say, oh, cousin of the Prophet, Ibn Amma Rasulillah. He was the son of Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, the cousin of the Prophet ﷺ, from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. If you would have told me, I would come to you. And he said, no, knowledge should be gone to, not knowledge come to me. And he sat and sought the knowledge until he became one of the most well-known scholars of the Ummah. People from all over the world would come to him. And the same young man that discredited or said he will not be something, or it's too late, or what do you think you are? He would watch from people going to his house. They would have to take turns. A whole group would come in for the science of the Qur'an, the tafsir of the Qur'an. Then another group would come for hadith, and another group would come for fiqh, and another group would come for the Arabic language, another group would come for poetry. Every single ilm, mashallah, he was at the highest of levels. And this is because he had high aspirations. He wasn't content with negativity. He wasn't content to be some, menial person. He wanted to be a scholar for the sake of Islam. And he achieved his goal. The other story of some men entering into adulthood, they were from the companions and the tabi'een, radiallahu anhum, ajma'een, Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, and Urwa ibn Zubayr, and Abdul Malik ibn Mirwan, and Abdullah ibn Umar, radiallahu anhum. So they were sitting in the Kaaba one day, and they said to each other, what would you wish for? What do you wish for? What are your aspirations in life? What do you want to do? So Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, he said, I want to be the Emir of Iraqain, meaning Iraq and the other provinces of the cities of Iraq, right? The great cities of Iraq. I want to be the leader of that province, or the governor of that province. And وَتَزَوَّجْ سُكَيْنَ بنت Hussein وَعَيْشَ bin Talha. And I want to marry from Sukaina, the daughter of Hussein, and Aisha, the daughter of Talha. Right? These were two of the most beautiful women of the Arab at that time. So, he's asking for leadership and for great lineage and wives, basically. Urwa bin Zubayr, he said, I would like to become a scholar of Islam and teach the Ummah and benefit the Ummah. And Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he said, I want to become the Khalifa of the Muslimin, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Abdullah ibn Umar, he thought for a while and he just said, I would like to go to Jannah. And every single one of them achieved their goals. And we hope for Abdullah ibn Umar, obviously, that he نحسب على ذلك, that he entered in Jannah because he was one of the righteous companions and scholars and did so much for Islam as well. But Mus'ab ibn Zubayr, he became the Emir of Iraq and he married those two women. Urwa ibn Zubayr became one of the greatest scholars of Islam. You can look in all the different books of Ahadith, and he is rated as one of the top scholars. Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, he became the Khalifa, one of the strong Khalifas who united the Ummah and spread Islam far and wide. And then Abdullah ibn Umar, mashallah, his works and actions, he's one of the greatest narrators in most narrations of Hadith and leaving of knowledge behind that we have today. So inshallah, we hope that he has attained his goal of Jannah. All of these aspirations, they achieved, right? They didn't sit around wasting their time. They had high goals, and they encouraged each other, and they made their goals. Another story of an elderly person, he was moving on in age, but he still had high aspirations. When he was younger, his family put him in the traditional learning system. So he learned, the Arabic language, the Qur'an, the poetry, etc. But because of certain situations, he had to take on menial labor to provide for his family. So he started working as basically like a stable boy. And he went in that situation for years, taking care of like the donkeys and the horses for the royal family. And one time, he was like, I need something more. I want to aspire to something more. So he was sitting with his friends after a long day's work and saying to them, what do you guys wish for? The same thing we heard earlier today. What would you like to wish for? And they're like, we don't have anything. Like we have our work and our family and khalas, right? Just regular lives. He said, well, I wish to be the Amir of Andalus, like the leader of Spain at that time, Andalus, one of the most powerful civilizations. And he said, just humor me, tell me what you wish for. So the other companion of his said, if you become, they're joking with him, but he said, if you become the Emir of Spain, then I wish that you give me 100,000 dinar and a beautiful garden with many, fruit trees and 100 jariyah, like women, servant girls. That's what I wish for. And then the third one, he said, okay, what about you? And he's also like making fun of him this time. He says, well, if you become Emir, I wish that you would whip me 40 lashes and put me on a donkey and parade me around town backwards on the donkey, saying nobody should work with this person. And they started like laughing at him. He wasn't joking, he was serious. He wanted to be something better than his current situation. So he ended up taking a position as secretary for the royal family. And little by little, he happened to marry from the royal family. And he was studying all this time the politics, and he's seeing who is the strong in power and making connections. And little by little, he was gaining lots of power in the court. Until actually, it was his time and he became the leader of Andalus. And then he remembered his two companions that he used to work with for so long, and he called them. He said to his soldiers or workers, go get these two people for me. So they went out and they brought them. And the first one, he said, remember a long time ago, I asked you, what did you wish for? He said, yes. I said, I wish for 100,000 dinars and a garden, a beautiful garden, and 100 jariyah. He said, and you will get what you wish for. Then he brought the second companion. He said, what about you? Do you remember what you wished for when we were talking that time long ago? He said, no, I forgot. He said, well, I didn't forget. You wish to get whipped 40 times and be put on a donkey backwards and paraded around the town and telling people not to work with you. And you will get what you wish for. And some people tried to intercede for him and say, no, you shouldn't do that, it's too much. And he said, no. حَتَّى يَعْلَمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Until he knows, and they know, and everybody knows, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is over all things powerful. He can make anything happen, right? I had a high aspiration and you made fun of me. You had this aspiration, lowly aspiration, you will get what you wish for. So inshallah, to take from these stories is basically, don't be content with mediocrity or lowly position, right? There's always something you can do. There's always a higher goal that you can achieve. So try to, inshallah, set your goals high. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. The practical ways, inshallah, to try to start achieving your aspirations, first and foremost, is you have to have the goals, right? Think of something that you can do to improve yourself, to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? You can have goals in the dunya, which is also important for the Muslims, but the most important goals and the highest of aspirations are something related to the deen, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because at the end of the day, we are departing this earth, and the highest thing you can achieve is Jannah. And the highest part of Jannah is Firdaus. So what can you do to achieve that? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ista'in billah wa la ta'jiz. To seek help with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not be like lose hope basically, or be stopped in your path, right? Always strive, right? Seek help with Allah and strive. Don't be like content to the point where you're not striving anymore. The Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, they always try to improve themselves. They always try to spread Islam more. They always try to learn more, right? Even if you look at the seerah of the greatest of scholars, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed, all of the scholars, if you look at them, even until their death, they are studying. Even though they were the greatest scholars of their time, they are still always learning. There's always something you can learn, right? Salat, Qiyam al-Layl, trying to pray the night prayer like the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Building it little by little. Memorize the Qur'an, that's a lofty goal. Any of you can achieve it. I've seen people from, far and wide, young and old, non-Arabs, Arabs, old age, young age, memorize the Qur'an. You can achieve that goal. Giving da'wah. Do you feel content to have the people around you not know anything about Islam and you're living here? Giving sadaqah. Making dua. There's so many things that we can do to improve ourselves and have higher aspirations. Go look and you will find. So, seeking assistance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost, and then striving in that goal, moving forward, not stopping. And a poet from the classics, he said, لَأَسْتَسْهِلَنَّ الصَّعْبَ أَوْ أُدْرِكَ الْمُنَى فَمَا انْقَادَتْ الْأَمَالُ إِلَّا لِصَابِرٍ. That I will make the hard stuff easy, right? Until I reach my goal. Because when you have high aspirations and high goals, it's not a cake. It's not easy walk. It requires discipline, it requires effort, and it requires overcoming obstacles and hardship. So this poet is saying, I will make it easy to, keep striving until it becomes easy for me, until I overcome my obstacles, until I reach my goal. And verily, the goals and the aspirations are not achieved except to those who have patience. So patience is a very important matter in achieving higher aspirations. Seeking help with Allah, striving, and having patience. You can't achieve everything in one day. It takes time. And the more patience you have and the more you keep striving, the more ajr you will get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't give up. If you look in the biographies, in the seerah of the scholars, of the politicians, of the generals, of those who have achieved high positions in society, one of the major factors they had is that they had patience and determinations. Muslim and non-Muslim. The ones who were successful, they had very strong patience. They endured a lot until they achieved their goals. If your goal is Jannah, what would you endure to get to that? If you knew you had one opportunity, and you do know that, this is your only opportunity. You have one life, one chance to make that goal, the highest of aspirations. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to achieve it? Today, inshallah, don't postpone it. As soon as the khutbah is over, even in the khutbah, inshallah, right now, if you're thinking about it, start making your aspirations. Start having higher levels of thinking. Right? And if you have people around you that are discouraging you or pushing you down or demotivating you, get away from those people. You want the suhbah salihah that's going to move you forward and get you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help us to achieve the high aspirations and to achieve Jannatul Firdaus. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغ بها جنتك، ومن يقين ما تهون علينا مصائب الدنيا، ومتعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا أبدا ما أحييتنا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا على من عادانا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا، ولا تسلط علينا بذنوبنا من لا يخافك فينا ولا يرحمنا. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza, and give them victory over the enemies of you and the enemies of Islam. Oh Allah, return to us Masjid al-Aqsa and give us the honor and raise up the Ummah of Islam. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه ولا تكفروه أقيموا إلى الصلاة يرحمني ويرحمكم الله.